In 1962, the relationship between America and the Soviet Union was very tense, and there were rumors that the Soviets would soon strike with an atomic bomb. The Americans were gripped by fear, and building nuclear shelters in the backyard became very common. Dr. Calvin worked very hard to build his shelter and stocked enough supplies to last many years. One day, Calvin and his pregnant wife Helen threw a party at their home. Everything was going well until they saw on TV an announcement from President Kennedy stating that they were planning a secret mission against the Soviet Union. There weren't any details, but Calvin got anxious and thought the war was about to start, so he kicked out all the guests and took his wife to the shelter. Seconds later, a plane flew over the city, and suddenly it had a technical failure that the pilot couldn't fix, and it crashed into Calvin's house, causing significant destruction. In the shelter, Calvin heard a noise and felt the tremor, thinking the war had started. He quickly locked the door and told Lil that he couldn't open it by hand. It would open on its own after 35 years, the time it would take for nuclear particles to become stable again in the air. Later, authorities searched the incident's rubble, and finding no life signs, presumed Calvin and Helen dead. As time passed, Calvin recovered, but Helen disliked living underground. Water flooded one day, and with Calvin's aid, she had a baby boy. Years passed, and their son Adam grew bright and clever. Calvin taught Adam all he knew, hoping Adam would one day rebuild the nation to its former glory. Calvin also taught Adam subjects beyond the basics, including boxing, French, and Latin. He also taught him how to deal with the stock market, and Helen taught him how to do house chores and even dance. Calvin also gave Adam his collection of baseball cards and tried to explain the sport to him. However, Adam had difficulty imagining being around other people or anyone besides his parents. Over time, his parents taught him to be very polite because they never swore in front of their son, who grew up naive and sheltered. The family created an easy routine that fit their ordinary daily life, allowing them to role-play shopping at the small supermarket, pretend to fish in a pond, take care of plants, and prepare Adam for more. They also have a space for reading, playing, relaxing, and joking around. Above them, the land that used to be their home was sold and became various commercial places over the years. First, it was a restaurant, then a nightclub. In 1995, Adam turned 33 years old and received gifts made by his family. When he blew out the candles, he wished to find the perfect partner one day. Helen said that there were only 2 years left, and Calvin mentioned he would miss the place when the time came, which made Helen go to another room and scream in frustration. In 1997, the 35 years ended and the door opened on its own. The family was excited to step outside, but Calvin told them he needed to do a quick check first to ensure the outside was safe. After wearing a radiation protective suit, he took the elevator and arrived in an abandoned building that had become home to a group of drunken beggars. Milker was shocked when he saw a glowing man emerging from the ground and fainted. Then Calvin left the building and was stunned by all the changes. There was graffiti everywhere, people holding guns like toys, shops for adults filled with disgusting things, and people looked strange and unintelligible when they spoke. Calvin got scared and ran to the shelter immediately and told them the air is clean, but the place is still a wreck and full of mutant crazies. He decided they must stay inside the shelter, and his words made Helen explode, screaming at him about how she's tired of being cooped up and how important it is for their son Adam to connect with nature. Calvin refused to change his mind, and the fight gave him a heart attack. Calvin became ill, and the supplies were running out, so Helen decided to send Adam outside to get enough food for a few more years. She gave him money and a shopping list, and told him to stay at Holiday Inn and look for a non-mutant girl. Before Adam left, Calvin told him not to enter the adult video stores. Due to the hazardous radiation, Adam ventured outside after preparation, discovering Melkar had set up a small shrine around the elevator, worshipping Calvin's family as sacred. Adam was thrilled to witness the extraordinary sky, buildings, trees, and even the people, who found him peculiar but exciting. He greeted everyone, but accidentally used an offensive word when meeting a black woman, because he was overly excited to see different skin color. As he passed an adult video store, he covered his nose and warned people to do the same. Then he got on the bus, and was very scared when he felt the machine move. When he tried to talk to the passengers, he used old-fashioned language that no one understood, so they also thought he was strange. Eventually, Adam reached the supermarket and began collecting everything from the list. The butcher told him that if he ordered a lot, he could deliver it to his house, which made Adam realize he didn't know how to get back to the shelter. He got anxious and ran out of the supermarket, spending the day riding different buses looking for the shelter. But he couldn't find it, and his money was running out. So he entered a hobby shop to sell his father's baseball cards. The shop owner knew that these cards were old and expensive, but instead of telling Adam, he offered to buy the whole pack for just $500. Before Adam could agree, the shop assistant Eve cut in and told Adam he was being scammed because each card is worth between $4,000 and $6,000. Eve cursed at her manager and quit on the spot, which impressed Adam, and he started to like her. When they left the shop, Adam asked Eve to give him a ride to the Holiday Inn. At first, Eve refused and tried to avoid him, but she quickly changed her mind when Adam promised her 2 baseball cards. During the trip, Adam chose all the old songs on the radio. Eve found it strange at first. When Eve got Adam to the hotel, she left without saying a word. Adam was taken aback when he looked out the window on the 18th floor and was shocked by the view. Then he started to enjoy watching the colorful TV. He was also keen to wake up very early to watch the sunrise. The next morning, Eve visited Adam in the hotel to return the cards because she felt guilty for taking too much money for something simple. Then she tried to leave, but Adam stopped her with another offer. He would pay her to be his assistant. She helped him gather essentials for the shelter. Eve agreed to go with Adam to buy supplies for another 2 years, renting trucks for the provisions. Adam surprised her by saying he wanted to find a bride. After shopping, Eve took Adam to her home, where he met Troy. Troy noticed Adam's amazement with technology and asked questions. Adam lied, saying he was from Alaska on a business trip. Meanwhile, Helene curiously took the elevator, but saw Melkar doing odd things and quickly returned. The next day, Troy decided Adam needed a fashion change and gave him a new wardrobe, transforming his appearance. In the following days, Eve and Troy introduced Adam to new experiences, such as dancing to contemporary music and skateboarding. They took him to the beach, and Adam was thrilled, impulsively jumping into the sea. He also attended a baseball game and finally understood why his father cherished it. One afternoon, it began to rain, and Adam, amazed, stood under it. Eve found him, and Adam shared his joy, calling it a miracle his father would have appreciated. They visited a vintage swing club, encouraging Adam to seek a bride and be himself. Women at the club were drawn to Adam's charm, respect, and looks. Eve's rival quickly caught his eye, leading to mutual understanding and changing Eve's perspective. Not someone ugly like her. Later, Adam asked another girl to dance with him and took over the dance floor, and everyone was amazed by his dancing skills. Eve tried to ignore her jealousy and chatted with her old boyfriend, who mocked Adam and provoked him into a fight. But Adam used his boxing lessons and scared the guy quickly. Eve was upset by all the drama and left the club, going home alone. When Troy arrived, he told her Adam had left the club with his competitor, and that made Eve realize she loved Adam. She rushed to find him and got into the car, but before she drove off, she was startled by someone knocking on the window. She fell to the ground, and it was Adam who took her inside and tended to her injury, while explaining that he had to refuse the other girls. Because he couldn't stop thinking about Eve, Adam confessed his feelings to her. She was overjoyed, and now that they were together, Adam decided to tell Eve the truth about his family and home. He also told her he wanted to marry her so they could live together in the shelter. But Eve thought he was a crazy man who didn't understand what he was saying and immediately kicked him out. The next day, Troy took Adam for a walk around the town and taught him how to drive. Suddenly, Adam saw the adult video store he had noticed before and followed the path until he found the building above his shelter, where Melkar had started a whole religion around the elevator. Adam got excited and Jerry told Eve the news, but he found 2 psychiatrists waiting for him. Initially, Adam pretended to cooperate, but as soon as he saw a chance, Jerry immediately ran, and one of the doctors followed him while the other tried to call the police. But Eve stopped him and discovered the operation was wrong. At that moment, Adam darted beside her and gave her his hotel key to pay the bill with the cards. Then he escaped in the car he had rented and accidentally hit the doctor's car in the process. Later, Eve and Troy arrived at Adam's room in the hotel and found many things made in the 60s, including some of Calvin's stock certificates. All these things made them realize that Adam was telling the truth. Meanwhile, Adam returned to the shelter and embraced his family after not seeing them for 2 weeks. He told them the world outside is really nice and brought them supplies that Melkor and his friends were carrying. Moving to Earth, she was eager to find Adam, so Troy took her to the adult video store. They started knocking on the ground, hoping to find the shelter, but they found nothing and decided to leave. On their way out, They saw Adam about to enter the building next to them. She ran to him to kiss and hug him, and Adam invited her to meet his family. Calvin and Helen liked Eve a lot and had dinner together. Calvin also gave Adam a lesson about the birds and the bees. But before they made any plans for the new life, Adam asked his parents to wait for 2 months. In the following week, Adam and Eve sold Calvin's stocks and built a new house in the countryside, exactly like Adam's old house. Milker also helped them after he cleaned up and quit drinking completely. When everything was ready, Adam took his parents to the house and revealed to them that this way, they could gradually adjust to the new world. Later, while Helen and Eve were preparing dinner, Adam finally told Calvin that there was no nuclear war or anything, and that the bomb was just a plane that crashed over their house, and that the Soviet Union collapsed and disintegrated on its own. And Calvin refused to believe and started planning to build a new backup shelter,